Here goes nothing. Okay, I think we're live. Welcome to Self-Care Sunday. It is April 30th, the end of the month. I can't believe how fast this month went. Oh man, I'm going to be keeping my eyes in the chat, making sure that this is looking good, sounding good. It is a special Self-Care Sunday, but I know I say that every week, but this week I mean it. Not that I didn't mean it the last couple weeks. Rebecca Lombardo in the chat. Before I could even shout you out, we have a new guest this week who is a author, a mental health advocate, and a fellow podcaster and content creator that I'm so excited to introduce all of you to and ask a bunch of questions. Couple things before we get to that. Just, oh man, so many familiar faces, so much love in the chat already. Happy Sunday, everybody. Kalili, Type Here 452, Nima M, Casey Smith, Love Kirby forever, Ryan Mulgrew. Special shout out to Ryan Mulgrew, who, if you've seen the art in my new social media little, like, I don't know what you call it, thingies, little icons, that's some art from Ryan Mulgrew. Thank you for that. I've been appreciating that. Lyra S, happy Sunday. Shout out to Lyra S for helping with the, like, after the stream. There's always, like, time codes so that people who are watching this not live can check it out. That's going to be below if you're watching this not live. And it's just a really useful way for people to be able to sort of jump into where is relevant for them, because I know these are long videos, and that's a nice little stopgap from short edited videos and these long live things. So thank you for that, Lyra S. Last week, I need to make a correction. I shouted out Lyra for helping me with my cat, Tiffany, who has had some health problems. She's a little older. She's like she's a nasty gal, but she's a senior cat who, fun fact, if you follow me on Twitter or Instagram, you know it's coming already, but I have a new feature of this this live stream, and yeah, let's fire some things up. You will remember this sucker. We got this going on. Got the chat over here. So these are things that we've learned over the last couple weeks, and I just want to thank all of you for being here with me, because since I got laid off from the startup that I was working at, I have a whole new life and business as a professional live streamer. So I'm now going to be paying my rent with live streaming for some incredible companies that I can't wait to profile here and in my podcast and other social media things. But for the time being, just know that y'all are helping me make my way in the world by hanging out with me on Sundays for Self-Care Sunday. You're the best. So all this stuff is nice, but it's nothing compared to the brand new Tiffy Cam. What is Tiffy Cam? Well, if you don't know, Tiffany is my geriatric cat that I adopted last fall, and Tiffy Cam is how you can enjoy Tiffy while we live stream. Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that sleeping cat. Look at that cat. She's sitting right next to me. This is her throne. This is the chair that I have outfitted for her because she really likes to be part of the action during the week. And yeah, she feels lonely when I'm like working all the time. So this is a nice little halfway. Yeah, this is just how we hang out. So I have it set up so that Tiffy can be here, we can be here. Hell, even you guys can be in here. Yeah, look at that. So we've got the technology on lock. We're getting better every single week, and that is all thanks to y'all making time to hang out with me. It gives me a context to make this stuff happen. So this is a super big thank you and shout out to Marietta, who I mistook for Lyra S. last week. Marietta has been giving me some medical advice for my sweet Tiffany over here, who really appreciates it. Tiffany and I are going to be traveling to the hospital next Saturday so that she can get her teeth out because she's got an infected little mouth. And so it's been kind of a sad couple of weeks, months for her. But now she is going to she's going to feel better. The doctor has promised that she will feel better, and I believe them. So that's happening. Thank you for joining me. So a couple things on the agenda for today before we get to our interview with Rebecca Lombardo. I just wanted to take a sec to see if there are any new folks here and welcome anybody who's never been to the stream before. Last week when I did that, an amazing gentleman mentioned that he was here, who I actually met in real life and remembered to share a video that I took with them. So anyway, thank you for the words of love in the chat. The chat's catching up. There's a little bit of a delay. And I really appreciate all your kind words for my sweet old lady, Tiffany. She will start demanding tummy pets at some point, at which point we can switch over to the Tiffy priority view, which I think is very important. That's what that'll look like. I'll probably disappear the chat for that, or make it smaller or something. But I have fun nerding out with this tech stuff, so that's cool. I just wanted to take a sec. Welcome new folks. If you are new, please let me know in the chat so I can shout you out and ask you how you found out about this, and if you have a friend here, or just what your story is, because that's interesting. Don't drop your phone. Oh, you think that's my phone? That's interesting. Let me show you how Tiffy Cam works. I think it is Tiffy being crushed by camera proof. But one second. This should be fun. So this is an app that works with the program that I'm using. We'll see how this works. I've never done this before. I think it might not work, but let's see. Broadcasting. Come on, pick it up. Nothing? All right. I don't know if this is going to work. But, oh, there we go. All right. And we're live. Okay, so we're live on the Go Cam. So this camera stand is set up over Tiffany's chair. I'm not sure if you can hear me. One sec. I can put on the wireless mic. And switch over to that. All right. This is like a regular light stand with this sucker is like an articulating arm that then holds the camera. That wireless transmitter is then transmitting over here, which is then piping slowly into the computer over there. And so this is the Tiffy Cam. This is how we can adjust the Tiffy Cam. Most importantly, this is how we treat the Tiffy on the Tiffy Cam. Oh, such a sweetie. That's the story of that. There's a super delay on this camera, so I'm not going to use it much. But yeah. And then this is the A cam setup. So this is what I normally talk into. I got this mic. This is my voiceover mic set up. This is my stream monitor. This is where I have the agenda for the day, the chat that I don't touch because that's what feeds into the computer. And then I got some levels monitors underneath the agenda, and this is the ultimate YouTube hub that makes sure that I'm not dropping signal or anything. So yeah, that is a little bit about Self-Care Sunday setup. You see how bad the delay is on this wireless camera, which I'm not going to use it much, but when I need something to show you how something's working, I'll probably use this thing because it's easy. Alrighty, let's come back to the main view. Oh man, so much fun to hang out with you guys on Sunday. Alrighty, I think I can come back to the better microphone. This is actually more fun than Disney World and way freaking cheaper. Alicia Workman, thank you for saying that. That is like so my dream with live streaming, is that I think I can produce something way more fun and interesting than what they do on cable TV at like way less of a budget. I had an idea the other day talking to one of my best friends, who I'll feature right now. Wasn't planning on this, but Srin Madipalli. He is a friend of mine that I made a movie of that I will link in the credits. Yeah, one sec. Let me take you here into the internet. Into the internet we go. So Srin Madipalli is the creator of... Oh, no, I gotta log in? No, we're not doing that. He's the creator of an app called Accomable.com. Accomable is basically an Airbnb for people with disabilities. It's such a cool program and website, and he has an amazing community. And basically I made a documentary about his story for my old job at 1 Month. That was my first film ever to screen in a film festival, and it played at the UN of all places, which was just such an incredible experience. If you search YouTube for what is it? Enabling Adventure. And I think Zach Valenti, but I think Enabling Adventure, just find it. But you'll find that movie right here, this sucker.
I'd love to do skydiving. I've actually looked into it on several occasions. What I need to find is some sort of system where my legs won't shatter to little bits when I land on the floor. So if I can find some means where my legs can be protected when landing, I am the first person on it.
That's the kind of madman he is. He has spent his entire life in a wheelchair with spinal muscular atrophy, and hasn't let it stop him from traveling the world. So yeah, super cool dude. And while we were talking last night, it occurred to me that I could potentially have correspondence on this show, like the way the Daily Show does it, with like hilarious, talented people that could like broadcast other segments from around the world, or whatever. Like, you know, they could just be in my living room. Like, there's so many different ways to do it. But I would love to bring other voices in to this series. So yeah, Srin's awesome. I hope to have him on soon as a guest. I think that will happen. So yeah. Oh, Casey Smith in the chat. Wi-Fi cutting out while you're watching. I'm so sorry. I know what that's like, and it's the worst. Literally the worst. Alrighty. So yeah. I am... Extreme camera levels. Just looking at the chat because that thing moves fast. I'm looking for new people. Aw. Fallen Star Burning. I missed Self-Care Sunday last week and can't focus enough to watch it not live. So glad you're back. I know the feeling about not watching things live. There is a really cool Chrome extension that I can recommend that helps you play videos faster. I think it's, what is it called? It's this thing. So I can like play videos way faster.
I have a condition called spinal muscular atrophy. It's a genetic condition that basically means my...
I forget what it's called. I think it's like video playback speed Chrome extension. video speed controller. That I should have remembered that. It's kind of obvious. But anyway, yeah, this thing works great. I highly recommend that if you are somebody who wants to keep up but is not sort of kept in. Awesome. So yeah, let's move on. So I just wanted to, for anyone who is new, anyone who's watching this, who's maybe coming through Rebecca Lombardo's channels, or anybody who doesn't listen to Wolf 359 or follow my podcast, Focused.af. I try not to swear on my YouTube channel because I don't know. I got little nieces and nephews, and they don't podcast, but they do YouTube. What else? So yeah, so I wanted to shout out Nizzy Holloway's sister's birthday. That's pretty awesome. Happy birthday. So yeah, I'm going to come back to this because we can. So yeah, I just wanted to share for a moment for new people about why mental health is important to me. I'll link, after this thing isn't live, I think over here, a video that explains why, if you want something that's tighter and sexier and better edited. But long story short, I dealt with anxiety and depression in college, and I've had a lifelong diagnosis of attention deficit disorder and learning disabilities, so mental health has always been part of my life. And as an artist and as an entrepreneur and as somebody who wants to make a difference, I found that tending to my mental health has been the most important thing in doing all the things I want to do. In a way that before I dealt with anxiety and depression in college, I thought it was a waste of time. I thought meditation was BS. And it took going through those rough experiences and then working with a cognitive behavioral therapist who showed me biofeedback and neurofeedback and hooked my brain up to a computer while I was playing like games like Space Invaders and Pac-Man. Yeah, playing those games while I had to stay relaxed based on my brainwave activity gave me a deep realization that I could actually go to the gym for my brain and impact my mental well-being, and that we all could with free or low-cost solutions like mindfulness. Not that that's the only solution, because I do believe that medicine is a miracle, and so is meditation, and it's all about balance. And I think you can find mindfulness and the values of meditation in things that aren't just sitting meditation, as much as I love that. I think dance and running, and I think there's an infinite frontier for self-care, and I think the exploration and practice can actually be fun. People who love skiing don't do it because they have a broken arm. They do it because they love the sport of it. And I think that we're just starting to discover that for our mental health, where I think historically and even today, most of our relationships, most of the people that I talk to, and even myself's relationship to mental health has been only when it's critical and broken do I do anything to tend to it. And I think, while not all of us have mental illness, we all have mental health in the same way that, all of us that have teeth have dental health. And so I just think it's really important that, we find the equivalent of flossing for our minds, because if you don't floss, your gums recede, your teeth fall out, and nobody's surprised. But then why are we surprised that we all, kind of lose it when we're not doing any we don't, for the most of the population of humanity is not going somewhere to get yelled at for not flossing their brains twice a year, once a year, whatever. I don't know what you're supposed to see the dentist for. 6 months. I got to go back to the dentist. But anyway, point being, that's why I'm passionate about mental health and mindfulness. And I created a project that some of you might be familiar with. It's called Project Uplift. I'll show you really quick. Uplift.is is the website, and it is an international mental health awareness campaign that uses, you'll see in this video, this tower, this device, lets people levitate a model of planet Earth with their mind by meditating. So you wear that headset, it reads your brainwaves, and when you relax sufficiently, a fan underneath the ball turns on, and you levitate this globe. So by lifting yourself up inside, you literally lift up the world. You can actually get the instructions for building a small version of this for free on GitHub. There are some parts you'll have to buy that cost money. I think it's under $500 for a desktop version. And you can check that out. It's all in the README. And if you have any questions, you just hit me up at Zach@uplift.is. That's my email. Literally anything at uplift.is is my email. Like you could write, I talk on my podcast, Focused.af. You could write like, hey, you at uplift.is. I will get it. Feel free to email me. I apologize in advance. It takes me a little time to get back to you, but I will do my best to get back to you within 3 days during the week. I'm bad on weekends, so don't email me on Friday and expect anything soon. Twitter works. You can reach me anywhere. So that's Project Uplift. For any new folks who are wondering who the heck I am and why I love talking about mental health and mindfulness and self-care and all of these things. Thanks for joining. So with that, some updates on Project Uplift for those of you who do know about it, which is now all of you. Hooray! And that project, so the tower that you saw, we've brought to Wesleyan University, where I went to college, University of Pennsylvania, to Singapore. The National University of Singapore brought me to give a TED Talk, and we built one over there out of wood, and it's a monster and insane and awesome. But it's a really big tower. Yeah, I got to bring it to Mass General Hospital as part of their Hub Week in 2015. And last year, I spoke at the National Alliance on Mental Illnesses big annual conference. And they couldn't afford to bring the tower because it's so big and so clunky that bringing it to Pittsburgh was a problem. The only reason we did it in Singapore was because we could buy wood, and wood isn't that expensive. So I'm in a situation where a lot of people want to have this thing, and not a lot of places can afford to bring it. So inside of my commitment to actually have this thing be real, because nobody's really building it, like I haven't gotten any reports of people using the open source thing. I have a video series that I've been working on, but it's going to take a little bit of time to edit. It's a lot more complicated to make it easy to do in video than I thought. So anyway, long story short, I tore apart that tower that you saw in that video, which was really scary. If you follow me on Instagram, I did a live stream video or something. I don't know. I think I shared a story of me tearing apart that thing that I've had since 2013. So 4 years, 3 years, 4 years. I can do math. 4 years. And so that thing's been in my closet for all that time, just right over there. And I tore it apart so I could build it again and smaller. I'm going to build it as a 6 or 7 foot device instead of a 15-foot device, and maybe like a 1 or 2 foot diameter instead of a 3 foot diameter. And that way I'll be able to put it in a standard rental car by myself, as opposed to needing to get a pickup truck with like 3 or 4 friends. Because the logistics are just unmanageable for the budgets that organizations that would want this seem to have. So that way I think I'll be able to do a lot more, and I'll be testing out the new device, which I'm going to be building out of a trash can. So I want like something that has wheels on it that's round, and I was like, oh, industrial trash can. And funny thing about the industrial trash can, one of my friends, my friend Max, was like, that's going to look really unprofessional and be dumb. And I'm like, I'm kind of embarrassed that it might look kind of janky. You're right. But then my roommate had the killer realization. It was like, no, it's perfect. Because now, not only do you get to lift the world with your mind, but you get to lift the world out of the garbage. which is like so timely for the news cycle if you read that thing. So I'm really happy about it. I'm super excited. Yeah. So that is happening. Gina Root, I see you are messaging me. I did forget to reply to your email. I will take a moment after this and check that. Thank you for reminding me to check my email, because there are just so many inboxes between Twitter and Tumblr and all these things, and I only get notifications on so many of them. So thank you for holding me accountable. I will get back to you later today. Okay, we're just about at time. I'm going to take a moment to introduce Rebecca Lombardo before I bring her into the stream. So Rebecca, if you meet me in that hangout, I will be with you shortly. There are a couple other things on the agenda that we will get to later. Spoiler alert, thank you to everyone who's rated my daily podcast. If you haven't heard that I have one, you can just go to http:// or www Focused.af and check that out in iTunes, and please leave a review or a rating. I'm going for 100 and we're at 30. I want to see if we can hit 100 by the time I finish in 7 episodes. It's over in 1 week, guys. That's crazy. Goes fast, you guys. All right. Rebecca Lombardo. So Rebecca is a pretty awesome human. Let's go to the web view. Bum. Alrighty. So yeah, this is Rebecca's website. She does a lot of stuff, so I think we're going to have a lot to relate on. We met on Twitter, and it was just a really awesome time to connect. It was just my first experience of connecting with somebody who seems to be a real influencer in the mental health space. As much as I love working on Project Uplift, I haven't really had much connection with other people doing similar work. I've been kind of the person in my circle that does this kind of work, so it's been interesting to connect with somebody who seems to have a lot of experience speaking very publicly about these things. This is a cover of her new book. I think this is the new book that's coming. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, just check her out. Give her a follow on Twitter, and all of that goodness. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, by the end of our conversation. But yeah, definitely excited to talk with Rebecca. So without further ado, let's do this. Alrighty, I'm waiting for Rebecca to join the call. We will see her shortly. In the meantime, I think it's time for Tiffy Cam. And I'm just going to shoot her a note on Twitter. I know she was in the chat earlier, so she's definitely around. Oh my God. I'm going to take a peek at the chat while we're at it. If people are struggling to bring over the actual structure, there's a computer program that does the same thing and just needs a laptop and a respiration band. That is awesome, Lyra S. I would love the link to that in any comments after this goes live so I can share that widely. My roommate and I also built a little app that is super fun. It's just like you don't need any hardware. It's just a simple graphic that expands and contracts to help you focus your breathing in rhythm. Yeah, I highly recommend it. And let's see. We have Nizzy Holloway. I need to get back to therapy. My mental health has been going downhill. I just so appreciate you sharing that and having the courage to share that here with all of us. And I encourage you to do that. That sounds like a great idea. And if you need anything from us, you let us know. What else? Alexi Winter. Even though I haven't seen real improvement in this, it's getting tiring. Enough about me. I'm oversharing in the chat. There's no such thing. Not on my watch. This is so cool. I just love the community here. Alrighty. I'm just going to quickly message Rebecca and see what's going on. Oh, and that's the sound. Hey, how are you?
Hey, I'd been sitting in there for about half an hour.
Oh, and you have to refresh it. It dies after.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. 1 second. Let me just make sure that the volume's all right, because I'm still figuring out the best way to grab the audio. Can people in the chat? There's a little bit of a delay. Let me know if Rebecca is too loud relative to me. I might be able to fix that. So just chat. Let me know. Nanny just showed up. Hey, Nanny. Great to see you. How's the weather where you are, Rebecca?
Oh, it's crap. It's total crap. It really is. It's like 41 degrees and rainy. I can't remember the last day that it didn't rain. So I'm outside of Detroit. So
interesting.
What is it? April showers. April showers bring May flowers. So let's hope that's the case.
So 1 second. It seems that you're a bit loud. Is there any way that you have the ability to lower the volume of your microphone?
Yep. Okay. Testing.
That seems a little better. Maybe a little bit more.
Okay. Testing.
How low can we go? Sorry.
Well, if I go too low, I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Let me see one thing. I think that this will fix it.
Let me try and. How does that sound?
There's a little bit of static in it now.
Oh, see, if I do that, I can't hear you.
Yeah, put it back to what you had it, and I'll try to do it on my end. I think I have a way to do it.
Okay.
And that's all right. Let's see if I do this and then put this down and say anything.
Okay, testing.
Okay, I think we're in a good zone. How is that, chat? Let me know if that works. I think that's going to sound a lot better.
I had the chat room up, but I was getting feedback, so I...
Oh, no, yeah, you definitely want to have that off.
Okay.
But, yeah, I think that I got it at a more or less balanced level now. Cool, there's a bit of a delay, but I think that we'll hear just in 2 secs. Okay, it's much better. Great. Awesome. Okay. Thank you all for being super patient with the tech stuff. That is the only downside to live at the moment. I'm still figuring out some of this aspect of the whole thing. So I'd love to welcome Rebecca Lombardo. And Rebecca is my first guest to prefer, but not the first person I've been talking with that will be on the show to prefer audio only, which I'm totally cool with. For anyone watching who has been thinking about wanting to be on the show or anything like that, I am like so here for whatever your preferences are, the people, which is why I've set up the Tiffy Cam so that we have something to look at while we chat. And
yeah, sorry about that, guys. My camera, it's a long story, but you wouldn't be able to even see me if I turned it on.
That is not a problem. No, I've been talking with a lot of people who just would prefer to do audio only, which I completely get as a podcaster. So, so with that, I gave them a little bit of an intro going through your website, but I'd love to hear from you. How do you describe yourself? What is your mission in life? Who are you, and what are you up to?
Well, I am bipolar, among a myriad of other interesting diagnoses. I was diagnosed at 19. I'm 44 now, so it's been a long road. And thankfully, I've been married to my husband for 15 years. I'm going to be 16 this year. And, since I met him, things have been better, but there have been still struggles. I consider myself a blogger, an advocate, an author, and now a podcaster. So in 2013, I unfortunately was struggling quite a bit, and I did attempt to take my life, and that will be my last. I learned my lesson.
You cut out a little bit. That'll be your last.
That'll be my last attempt. I will not be doing that again. Sometimes it's hard because sometimes the depression, keep that in the back of our mind, like this is an out, and I'm really working very hard to make people realize that that's not an out. It's not the way to go. And after I was committed by the state to a really, really horrible place, and when I finally came out, I started my blog, and I was really only doing it just to sort of purge my brain of any of the issues, the pain, the whole situation. And I decided to make it public just to have, some people read it. And once I did that, it just became very popular. And I was getting feedback from, all over the place, all the way from Malaysia, and people just saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it sounds just like my story, coming out and explaining, what you've been through, because now I know what I need to do. And so I've gradually decided that I would try to turn it into a book if that was even feasible. And I found out that it was. And in 2015, the book came out. Everything was going pretty well. And we were finding some issues with the book, some typographical errors and things like that. So we decided that we were going to take it off the market, redo the whole thing. So what you're seeing on my website is the brand new cover for the second edition that will be released within the next couple of weeks to celebrate Mental Health Awareness Month.
Wow, that is so awesome. And I just want to echo some of the voices in the chat right now. If you don't see that, we have Gina Root, Rebecca Lombardo, Triple Heart, you are remarkable. Thank you for sharing what you've learned. The Haven Chronicles, I've been there, they're not good. Love Kirby forever. It's so good to hear, Rebecca, that you found better days. Emir G, I have so much admiration for you and your openness about this. And Alexi Winter, this is so brave to talk about it. And there's more. But to move on, and to personally echo that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, it's just seeing, and I got the sense, I haven't had the chance to read your book, but just seeing the conversations that you are holding space for on Twitter, which is a place that I spend a lot of my digital time, which I spend a lot of my real time on, it was just it is what had me reach out to you and see if you would be open to talking, and I'm so glad that you're here now.
Absolutely.
So I'm really curious, as somebody who deals with mental illness, it seems that you've, really taken on, one, being a voice for change and being an open book for, I think the benefit of others, and two, made it your living as an author and as a podcaster. And as somebody who is diagnosed with mental illness and as somebody who's interested in being a content creator, I'd love to hear a little bit about, just that journey. Is it something was it a transition? Were you always sort of on this path? And what called you to it?
Well, it's funny that you say being a voice for change, because that is actually the name of my podcast, Voices for Change 2.0. But yes, it's been an unexpected journey, to be honest with you. I never envisioned that when I came out with my story and, I got to know more people, especially in the mental health community on Twitter, I never realized that I was becoming this advocate until, people started coming to me and saying, "Hey, you've done some amazing stuff. Thank you." And it's just been healing for me and a gratifying experience to be able to help others while I'm helping myself. And I didn't expect it, and I think that further I go, the better it's going to be. And I think that we're really making strides, in teaching people about mental health and mental illness. And I'm really excited about where things are going. I have the opportunity next month, May 31st, there's a possibility I will be reading an essay that I wrote for stigmafighters.com at NYU. So, my husband and I are really excited about that opportunity. I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not a huge public speaker, sure. But I'm determined to make the trip and to make it as an amazing experience as it can be. But like I said, I never expected that it would become what it's become. Every day somebody's reaching out to me, asking me for advice, or, looking for help in getting their advocacy started, or how do I start a blog, or how long did it take you to write your book? And it's amazing. It's, like I said, it's just a gratifying and rewarding experience.
Yeah, I can imagine. When did you start sharing your personal experience, and what was there, like a turning point for you where it went from a private matter to something that you were wanting to talk about more publicly?
Well, my blog started in roughly November of 2013, and I don't think it was until 2014 that I started to become more public about it. And it was difficult at first because, with my suicide attempt, I had lost some friends in the process. There's a lot of people that, are of the opinion that coward's way out, or you're weak, or, I had someone that I had been friends with for more than 20 years. She would, anytime she spoke to me, she would use, quotations and say, "Your so-called illness, what do you have to be so upset about?" And, it was difficult. So I didn't know if I wanted to make it public, because I had such negative experiences with some people. Some people were amazing. They didn't even blink an eye. But I had lost a few important people, including family members, and that I needed to proceed for me and for anybody else that I might be able to help. So 2014, the blog was public, and then I started doing blogs for, my very beginning was the International Bipolar Foundation. Mm-hmm. And I would, turn in blogs to them. I find it slightly difficult to keep a steady stream going. I do run into writer's block. I just consider that part of my illness. And so I don't always blog, I don't sign up for a steady blog on any particular websites, except that, now I do work with, I am on the Huffington Post and I am on the Mighty, but those are, the way they're set up, you can kind of just schedule it when you are able to schedule it.
Right.
It's not, we need this on this day of the week kind of, deadline situation.
Yeah, I had my own sort of version of that last year around the election, and that coupled with some personal stuff in my my dating life had me really want to take a step back from the internet. I wasn't doing live videos at that point, and that's honestly been the biggest relief for me in going live every week instead of having to sort of go into my hole and try to be interesting, sort of in 10 to 30 hours of shooting and editing, getting to just connect with people and have it be a conversation, which I feel like is a form of self-care for me in getting out of my head and bringing in other voices. So I can totally relate with the writer's block, sort of struggling to keep a steady output going, especially when the content is so personal.
Right, and I had gone more than a decade. I was writing all the way, into my early 20s, but it was mostly poetry. The whole kind of woe is me, he done me wrong kind of poetry that you write in your 20s.
Yeah.
But I went a very long time. There would be times when I could maybe whip out a poem that I would write for my husband, and that would be about the extent of it. And it wasn't until I decided that I needed to tell my story that it started to just flow, and it was amazing that but amazing, but sort of difficult at the same time, because it would hit me at all hours of the day and night. 1:30 in the morning, I could think of, I'd wake up and I'd think of a word. I gotta get up and write this now, because if I don't, I'm gonna lose it.
Yeah.
So you catch me at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, furiously type blog post, but it became, it's part of me now. It's something that I don't think I'll ever shy away from. It's important, and it really does help me. And it's part, like you're mentioning, self-care. That is part of my self-care, is being able to purge any of the emotions that I'm struggling with.
Could you talk a little bit about what you mean when you say self-care? Because I obviously have my list of practices and thingies. So I'm so curious what you think of when you think of self-care.
Well, I'm a little bit of a different person when it comes to things like self-care. I know that there are some very regimented practices that people use, and for me, it's always something different. I have a few different things that I rely on, and some people think they're silly, and I'm okay with that, but I don't do the usual, as if there's a way to phrase it as the usual, like,
right. If there is a usual.
Exactly. Like the meditation and the yoga and burning candles and things like that.
Not really for you.
Not really for me. Sure. There are times when I do yoga, but I don't consider that necessarily self-care. I consider that something that I need to do to get my butt up and moving.
Right.
So when I'm focusing on self-care, it falls along the lines of, and you're probably going to laugh, but have you ever heard of a TV show called Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah, I have. It's a great show.
Yeah, it's a great show. And from that, some of the guys, there was a different set of casts. As the show started, it had one cast, and as it went along, it changed over to some different folks.
Right. And
the 3 guys that left that the show went off the air with, now do a thing called riff tracks.
Right. And so for people who don't know for people who don't know what Mystery Science Theater 3000 was, you'd basically watch it on TV, and what it was a movie, but in front of the movie you'd see the back of 3 heads of these characters that were watching the movie, and you'd watch the movie and then watch them watching the movie, and they'd say hilarious, snarky stuff as the movie happened.
Right. It's like the first row of a theater seats, and then there's a guy and 2 robots, and the guy at the beginning created the robots to keep him company because he was sent into outer space by these evil mad scientists.
Right.
It sounds ridiculous, but when you sit down and you start watching it, it's absolute genius. And they recently they just put out a new season with a whole new cast. It's available on Netflix. I strongly recommend it. But I do that. I have certain films that if you can tell that I'm in a dark place if I'm watching like The Crow or Memoirs of a Geisha or Titanic, or I've really lately been following X-Men Days of Future Past. That one's been a big one for me. I'm just really a film and television nut.
As a film major, I can maybe relate with that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, those are kind of my things. And then, like I said, I do write, and I have 3 cats. A lot of time with them, and I spend time with my husband, who is absolutely today's his birthday, by the way, and he's downstairs teaching guitar. He teaches guitar lessons on Sundays.
Happy birthday!
Yeah, and he is he's phenomenal. He's part of the reason that I'm still here is his support, and
awesome.
Yeah, he really does help me out so much with everything. And I don't know, it's like I said, I'm a little bit different. I don't do the usual, but I'm learning. Like I think you mentioned CBT. I took when I was very first started getting treatment, I did DBT in a group therapy session, or sort of a group. Can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it was not for me. I didn't enjoy it. So a lot of people have been speaking about DBT as of late, and so I decided, well, let me see, can I do this on my own, because I'm not that great in a group setting. And it turns out you can. So I've purchased some books, and I plan this summer to kind of teach myself DBT, and I'll be learning these things like mindfulness and all these wonderful things that everyone is raving about. So I'm excited about that, because I really, really, there are times when I get low. I've written a book, and I've told people how to not let the lows remain, don't pack up and live there, but I still get low. I still have to, get myself up out of bed every day. And so there are times when I feel like I'm more existing than living. So I want to try something new. And our podcast is part of that. That helps me focus on something that, is positive, basically. So
I was going to ask how you relate to, or, just like, I think a lot of people that watch a lot of the community around Self-Care Sunday, and just the folks that hang out with me online are creative people, are interested in discovering the next level of their creativity, and many of them are writers or aspiring writers, and publishing is, I think, on the horizon for a lot of the folks at home. So I guess, could you talk a little bit about your journey to publishing your first book, and I guess lessons learned as you've taken on your second.
Well, to be completely transparent, it's still the same book. It's just the second edition of the book. So
right,
things have been removed, other things have been added, and just for anyone that's listening, I don't want anybody to think that they read the first one and they must go out and get this second one because
right.
it's completely different. It's just a second edition, but it's a quality product than the first one was. So,
sure.
But it was it was a struggle. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's nothing easy about the process. Even if you can find a publisher, it's not there's nothing easy. I don't want to seem petty or anything, but my first publisher wasn't what I needed. He ended up being not experienced enough to really make it work. So we've taken the book, my husband and I have taken it, and we've had it professionally edited and have worked at it for a long time. We're working at it every single day, just making sure that it's exactly what I want it to be this time around.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
And finding a publicist is difficult, and you may not find one, and the option that is always there of self-publishing, which is what we are doing this time around.
Yeah.
And it's become a bigger if you ask me, self-publishing is more popular than going through a publisher at this point, because
I think you're right.
Yeah, because it takes a lot of, although it's more work for you, it takes a lot of the stress out of having someone, sort of ordering you around and telling you that it needs to be this way and you need to do this and that and the other thing. So that's where I'm at this point with it, is back to self-publishing. I struggled for about a year trying to find a publicist, a publisher. And I had a couple of people that were interested, and then eventually decided that they didn't want to publish, quote unquote, that kind of book. So it was difficult, because I don't have any problem speaking exactly my truth in this book. I mean, if you're easily triggered in any way, be careful reading the book. Make sure you're in a good place beforehand, because I talk about self-harm. I talk about my suicide attempt. I talk about my mother's death, my brother's death. I mean, there's a lot of really heavy topics in it. But it's all true, and it all happened to me. And it's that's why it's called It's Not Your Journey, because it quite literally was my journey. So that's where I'm at with that.
Got it. From the chat, I think a relevant question from Gina Root wants to know, what was a particularly cathartic moment in your writing process? And I can chime in with my experience of, I write to think is a quote that I stole from somebody smarter than me. Like, if I really want to understand what I think about something, I sit down and I write. Part of my writing process is also yammering into a microphone, which I've then sort of taken to podcasting. But yeah, I guess writing is therapy. If there was any sort of highlights in either writing your book or blogging or journaling, is that something that you have any stories about? Well,
the first time that I published a blog, I mean, the first time that I wrote something was the first cathartic experience, because like I'd said, I'd struggled for so many years prior to that. I would sit in front of the computer or sit with a notebook, and just no words were flowing. It was just, and I would be so devastated, and I would cry and be upset and frustrated, and what happened to me was all I could think of, because I used to be someone who took creative writing courses, and I was just so frustrated. And the first time that I wrote something that got comments and people reaching out to me and saying, "Oh my God, this is amazing! You're so," the first time somebody told me that I was a good writer, my mind was just blown. I couldn't even comprehend it, and it was very, very cathartic. And just beginning, just to know that I could do it, was the biggest moment for me. So I guess that would be my answer to it was Gina's question. That just knowing finally that it was back, that my head was working again, and things were moving. That was the most amazing experience for me.
Awesome. I remember when I was sort of having my more difficult moment in college, and I finally, thanks to some wonderful friends, got my butt to the counselors on campus, which were magically free, and little did I know, because I was too afraid to even call them. And then finally, when I did and went, the biggest thing that they asked me was like, "Are you getting out much?" And I think before I was even able to sit down and write, or be creative in a way that was healing, just the structural difference of like getting outside into the fresh air for 15 minutes a day, and it turned into walks to the woods, and then jogging, and then running, and now that's a big part of my self-care and my my sort of week. I guess, is there any of those physical practices or dietary things, or any like because I think the challenge with writing, other than setting aside time to sit down and put one word after another, which I think is what it comes down to, I guess, like, I love to tease out in my interviews with people super modelable tools and skills and things, and so I'm wondering if there's anything like foundational that you would say is like, even like, I guess, to try to phrase something that you didn't say but that I maybe heard, and correct me if this is inaccurate, okay, but like pre-self-care, like, right, like the stuff that's just like to get you up and moving. Is there anything that you would recommend in your experience?
Well, what I would for sure recommend is, there's one thing that I didn't get a chance to mention that it slipped my mind because I haven't done it in a little while, but something that is amazing is photography. And I grew up, my dad had many professional cameras. I mean, we could go to a baseball game at Tiger Stadium here in Detroit, and my dad had one of those gigantic zoom lenses that no matter where we sat, he could get a full-size picture of the second baseman. So I got my camera love from him, but as I got a little bit older, the big bulky cameras were kind of too much, and I just wanted one of those point and shoot things, and that's all I had for many years. But a year ago, my husband finally consented to buying me a beautiful new Canon camera, and it was for my birthday. And the first few pictures I took, his mind was just blown. He was blown away. He was like, "Why didn't we do this sooner?" And that's one thing that we will do, is we'll go to the local parks. We'll go, there's some parks out here near us that have like little farms, and take amazing photographs of goats and pigs and just all kinds of stuff. But that's one thing that gets me up and moving, is when the weather is good, which it's kind of a struggle here in Michigan, but when the weather is good, I get out to the local parks and I take pictures, and I play around with the settings on the camera, and I'm constantly learning new things about it. And the other thing would be, if how crazy this is going to sound, but I am a huge WWE fan.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have been a wrestling fan ever since I was a kid. And there is a former wrestler by the name of Diamond Dallas Page. And he has created something called DDP Yoga. And if I'm going to do yoga, that's the yoga that I do.
Okay.
And it's an amazing program, which I need to get back into it. I unfortunately have a couple of injuries that I'm trying to work through. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And
okay.
But when I am up and moving, it's DDP Yoga, and it's an amazing program. He's on Twitter. It's ddpyoganow.com. He actually helped a Iraq war veteran that was told he would never walk again without crutches. This man, Arthur, he now is an instructor for DDP Yoga. He can run, let alone walk, without crutches. So it's a fantastic program, and it helps you out a lot. And that's something that myself and my husband do. When we can get the cats out of the way, we spread out the yoga mats and do our DDP yoga. So that's and I've also got a 80-pound heavy bag in our basement.
That's awesome.
I punch and I kick for all that it's worth.
That's so funny you say that. My dad's first reaction to me getting an ADD diagnosis was to go out and buy me a punching bag.
Yeah, it's great. It's I got my pink gloves, and they're the the half gloves where your fingers are still sticking out, and they're kind of similar to what the Undertaker wears in the ring. They're just pink. So I had to have those, and I blast 90s music as loud as I can, and I punch and I kick that thing until I'm about to drop. So those are the things that get me moving.
I love that. I would love to have some pink punching gloves of my own. That is super cool. So to switch gears a little bit, I'm really curious. So recently I listened to, I don't know if you've heard Mad World. It's a new podcast, a British show, with their first guest. It's a woman who writes for a British publication. And their first guest was Prince, I'm going to mess this up, Prince Harry? I don't know, one of them.
I think that's right, yeah.
And I loved, just early on in their conversation, it would be weird to not feel weird at least sometimes. We act like feeling weird is bad and you have to be normal, but what the heck is that? I'm curious, could you talk a little bit about, in your own words, I guess, that, is that something that resonates with you? Is that something you, how do you feel about that sort of sentiment?
I guess the thing now that most folks are using is it's okay to not be okay. Mm. And that's something that I have struggled with for many years, because part of it was my mom. And, God bless her, she was my best friend. I miss her like crazy. But she got so aggravated if, we were all just kind of in our rooms watching TV or whatever, and she was the one that was up cleaning or whatever. She just, she would get so aggravated with all of us and, call us all wastes of space and, just get frustrated because we weren't up and, doing things and helping her and whatnot. And so it sort of became a thing with me where even at this age, if I find myself needing to take a break out of, social media or people, because it just gets too people-y out there, and, or just be alone and just kind of recuperate from, because it's a constant battle inside your brain. You're fighting a war every single day inside your brain to, be what a functioning individual, and it's exhausting. You're constantly exhausted. And whenever I would take time to just be by myself and watch my shows, or write, or even read, if I could keep my concentration up, I always had this lingering, nagging feeling of guilt. Like this needs the kitchen needs to be clean, the dishwasher needs to be emptied, this room's got to be vacuumed. It's just sort of a constant thing. And I've really been training myself now that if I don't get up right now and vacuum the living room, that the world is not going to come tumbling around around me. Everything is going to be okay. That stuff, it will get to it. And it's been a struggle for me, but I'm definitely getting there to where it's okay not to be okay. And it's funny because I can tell other people that until the cows come home. It's fine. You're entitled to your feelings. Like Dr. Phil says, you can't change what you don't acknowledge. So you have to feel those feelings, and then you can move on from them. But I'm okay telling others that, but I beat up on myself when I'm trying to do it as well. So it's been a struggle, but I'm definitely learning. I started coloring, which has been amazing. I've got just a stack of coloring books and these beautiful colored pencils, and taking time to away from what stresses you out is so important for all of us. And I can't say enough about it. I just wish that it came easier for me. Would be my final realization of it, that I wish it came easier for me, but because of sort of how I grew up and the way my mind thinks, my mind kind of is always going back to the guilt of not getting such and such done, or thinking, God, you used to be able to do a whole list of things in one day, why can't you do anything now? It's very hard to keep that moving.
The chat agrees with the coloring in a really wonderful way. And
yeah, I'm sure they do.
Yeah, I have a number of friends who are involved in either facilitating or getting trained in facilitating art therapy. So I love that. That's cool.
The coloring is awesome in a couple of ways, because if you have like a tablet and an iPad or whatever, there are apps on there where you can color with your finger. You just pick the color and put it in the space or whatever. I like to use a stylus sort of thing on my iPad, and you can color that way, and it's amazing. But it's also just as amazing to actually physically do the coloring. I'm so picky. I went through 4 sets of pencils because I needed to find just the right way. They had to feel just the right way, and I finally found some great stuff. So yeah, that's I can't say enough about that. I strongly recommend it. It's so relaxing. Even my husband will sit next to me and color, and I mean, we're in our 40s, and it's hilarious. I can't even imagine if somebody wandered upon the two of us sitting there furiously coloring, what they would be thinking.
Furiously coloring.
Yeah.
Needs to be the title of something.
Yeah.
I love that.
Would be awesome.
So I guess to start wrapping up, I'm dying to know if you could go back in time and talk to your 20-year-old self, what would you say? I guess, would you have advice? Would you have not advice? Like, do you know yourself and know that that would be something you wouldn't listen to and just commiserate, or what would you go back and want to say or do with your 20-year-old self?
It's funny that you say that, because I actually wrote a piece on that. It's a letter to 19-year-old me.
Awesome.
yeah, I actually did that. And there's a lot of things that I would say to 19-year-old me. One of the things is, you know, you're not fat, you're not ugly. You know, that's really, really, that was a struggle for me my entire life. My weight has been an issue for me. Cutting yourself is not the answer. That's a huge, huge factor. You know, I will say right now, though, that I am 3 years and 10 months free of self-injury. But back then, it had just begun. And, you know, the scars stay forever. They don't go away. And if I could start over again, I would never have started that. You know, give yourself a break once in a while. You know, try not to be so hard on yourself. You're going to make mistakes, but you're eventually going to find your path. And when you do, it will be so rewarding because you've had to struggle so hard to get there. And just when, you know, it's hard because that was when I was diagnosed. It was 19. And, you know, you have to prepare yourself. You have to be ready for everything that's going to be coming at you with a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, borderline personality disorder, anxiety. Just be ready for what's coming at you, because it's going to be difficult. It's going to be painful. But like I said before, once you work your way through these issues, it's going to be such a relief, and you're going to feel so much stronger. You're going to feel like you can conquer the world because you're able to conquer everything that you're struggling with.
And when you say be ready, would you recommend, and just, there are so many congratulations and hearts in the chat around
thank you, everyone,
especially the 3 years, 8 months and 10 days. There's a lot of acknowledgement for that. Is there a couple of like checklist items, like, you know, would you, I don't know, involve family in some way? Like what does getting ready look like when you're talking to your 19-year-old self?
That having someone in your life that you can go to for support is huge. Just putting your feelings, giving your feelings a voice is a phenomenal thing. You must do that. You have to. You can't just isolate yourself in your room and think about how terrible everything is, because you're going to convince yourself that you're never going to get better. And that's the God's honest truth, because I did it myself. I convinced myself that life was always going to be this miserable. And there's going to be times when you are struggling and you do feel miserable. But when you're able to reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm having a bad day. Can you just sit here with me and watch a movie? Or watch the show with me? Or, you know, can we go for a walk? Just, even if they don't speak, if they're just there, that's essential. You know, we're not asking for anybody to fix our problems. We're just asking you to be there for us during those issues. You know, and that's the hardest thing for people that love you, is that they want to fix it and they can't. So open communication is vital. You want to tell the person that is in your life, if it's a boyfriend or if it's a parent or just like a best friend, it's okay that you can't fix this for me. You know, that's fine. I just need you to be there.
Right.
And I can't say enough about how important that is. And that was something that my husband struggled with for a while, because he doesn't want to see me in pain. He wants to be able to fix it and make me feel better.
Yeah.
And now he just says to me, is there anything I can do to make this easier for you whenever I'm struggling? And then that opens a dialogue. We begin to talk about what's going on with me. And it helps. It takes the weight off your shoulders so much to know that there's somebody out there that will talk it over with you and assist you in putting a voice to your feelings.
Yeah, I guess this occurs to me as like the missing thing. I was in a relationship in college when I was having my depressive, anxious, manic sort of moment. I never got a diagnosis on exactly whatever the heck it was, but all those things kind of rolled up. I did not have the wherewithal to know it was mental health and not just, I don't know, like whatever it was I was thinking at the time. Like I didn't know to tell my partner at the time, like, I just need you to be here. And it was very much, I think she felt a lot of pressure to have to fix me. Yeah. And I didn't have the language to just request you just like be here and be present, or like don't be here and be back like tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like even just like giving her some space to know that this is not something that had anything to do with her and not something that is a fixing in the domain of something to be fixed.
Exactly. I will often tell my husband that, look, I am struggling right now. It's not you. You didn't do anything wrong. It's me. I'm in a dark place. And that's very important, because even though you need to focus on yourself and working through whatever you're going through, it's important that you not, alienate the people that are trying to be there for you. And you say, look, it's not your fault. I understand how you feel, but just know that I'm in a dark place right now, and I just need you to be there.
Yeah. Where do you attribute that ability, that communication to, like, where did you learn that? Because that's not something that I knew at the time.
Yeah, years and years of practice, honestly. Honestly, it's funny because it took a long time for me to get to this point where I'm more self-aware. I can feel when it's coming. Mm-hmm. I know when I wake up in the morning when I'm going to be in a dark place during the day. And I will often either text him or call him and say, hey, it's here again. And he knows exactly what that means, and he knows what to expect. But like I said, we've been married 15 years, and it took a lot of practice. I couldn't have done that, in my early 20s with the friends that I had. Nobody would have understood what any of that meant, and I wouldn't have understood how to explain it to them. That's why whenever I tell people about reading my book, that's why I always say, be in a good place, have someone to communicate with, be willing to put, like I've repeatedly said, be willing to give your feelings a voice, because, hang on, I got a cat that wants out of the room. There you go, Bubba.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's that's the most important thing that I would tell myself at 19, is not to shut people out, don't isolate yourself, and to communicate. Even if you can't do it, verbally in front of the person, write them a note, write them a letter. I've had to do that before, where I was struggling so much that all I could do was cry, and I couldn't put things into words. So I wrote letters and said, this is how I feel, and, this is what's going on. And it took me a long time, because I had to teach myself that it's not always about me, especially when I'm in a relationship. I have to be willing to be supportive too. Mm-hmm. Even when I'm struggling. And that's really hard for people. We have couples that come to us all the time. Like, how are you guys, one person in your relationship is bipolar, the other one isn't. How are you guys doing it?
Yeah. That's awesome.
yeah, and that's something that those of us with bipolar disorder struggle with. It becomes so consuming and the pain is so intense that it's really hard to just stop and think for a minute, hey, there's somebody else involved here. And it's like I said, even if it's just for a minute, say, look, I love you. It's not your fault. It's me. I just need your support.
Cool. Amazing. So I just think, I'm learning a lot just listening to you, and I think that I've never seen such an intimate and supportive group chat than what I'm seeing coming in through the thread here. So just
that's awesome.
All of my gratitude to you for having this conversation. The last thing that I want to talk about, because I want to let you go and we should wrap up at some point, generally. I wanted to know, I think most of the people here know about me because of a podcast that I do. And I recently started a new podcast, which I think I shared with you. The larger one is Wolf 359, which is a sci-fi audio drama that's been a lot of fun to put together. And then the more recent one is a talk podcast. It's a daily show that I do called Focused.af. I'd love for you to share a little bit about your show, Voices for Change 2.0, and your experience as a podcaster and sort of just the highlights of that journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt really strongly like I knew I wanted to take part in a podcast, and I happened upon someone that I was going to be on their show, and in the process of discussing myself being on their show, I happened to mention that I wanted to do something at some point too. I've always been sort of, it's really briefly, my best friend from 5th grade is still my best friend to this day, even though she's in Chicago and I'm in Michigan. And we were on the radio literally every weekend. We called and we drove the DJs crazy, and we were constantly trying to enter contests and everything. And I always had sort of a connection to radio and whatnot, and I thought, what better way to get my message out there than to try doing a podcast and doing it with my husband, because we could present the side of the person who is dealing with mental illness, and also present the side of the person who's the caregiver of someone who's dealing with mental illness, because there's a lot of people out there that are struggling with their position in the relationship, where they feel unappreciated. They don't know what to do. Like I said before, they don't know how to fix it. So that's kind of where we were coming from with it, where I would be able to present, my opinions and my thoughts as someone dealing with mental illness, and he would be able to present his side of it. And we also wanted to have some element of fun with it. So we're a mental health podcast, but we also deal with movies, music, books, sports, pop culture, whenever we can. So while we always try to circle back to the mental health of it, we will sometimes have, we had Dean McDermott, who is Tori Spelling's husband. We've had people from reality shows on and things like that. And the original season took place on one network, and we wanted to work with a little bit more, so we switched networks, and that's why we're now Voices for Change 2.0, because we're a new version. Still the same concept, just a different network, which is the Left of Straight radio network, which is a fantastic LGBTQ network. We are considered allies, and we love it. We love our producer. We love the audience. We love everything that has to do with it. And so that's where we come from. Everybody that we have on can, even if they are someone from like a reality TV show, can in some way go back to struggling with either a physical illness or a mental illness or both. I recently had we recently had Corey Chalmers from the TV show Hoarders. We also had Dr. Zazio from the TV show Hoarders, and so we talked about hoarding disorder as a mental health type thing. So to can relate back to mental health in some way, even if they're more of just a fun guest. We'll get down to the nitty gritty at some point.
That's awesome.
But yeah, we have a great time with it. We, right now, and I would love to have you on at some point. I think you would be amazing if you're willing to do that.
Anytime.
Yeah, we right now we're booked until August.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy. We've got a lot of stuff going on, but like I said, I would love to have you on at some point because I think you have just this amazing. I was watching you, and I can't believe all the tech stuff you've got and all these amazing things that you're doing. So
thank you.
I think it would be amazing to have you on the show. So
I would be honored to come on, and if it's next year, it's next year. You let me know what works for you. We'll figure it out.
Absolutely, yeah, it would be great.
Great.
And you and my husband would get along very well. Of course, everybody loves him. I'm kind of the bad cop, and he's kind of the good cop.
That's amazing. Awesome. Well, just so fun to have you on. Such a pleasure. I can't. This is like the first like, hey, you seem really awesome on Twitter. Like, would you want to come on this live thing I do? And so I'm so glad it worked out. Yeah,
I didn't quite know what to expect, but this has been amazing. It's been a great experience, and I'm just really appreciative that you sought me out and brought me into this. I think you could do some great things with this show. So, just keep up the good work.
Thank you. I will. In the meantime, I'd love to know where people can find you, what channels you prefer, that whole game, and I can make sure that those links are in the chat, and I can even, while you list some out, bring them up on the screen really quick.
Well, the easiest way to find to find anything about me is my personal website, which is RebeccaLombardo.com. You briefly went over the page where I have all of my social media links. I've still got my blog. My blog picks up where my book left off. So I'm still writing my blog. I am on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I think I have a Tumblr page, but I don't know too much about it. But like I said, www.RebeccaLombardo.com. There's even a page on that site that directs you to all of the links for our podcast. So you can find anything you need really on there. And let me think what else here. Twitter is probably the best place to get a hold of me. I have open DMs, which I probably shouldn't say out in public because I've gotten some crazy messages via open DMs. Mm-hmm. But you can reach out to me at on Twitter at any time, and that's at Becca Lombardo, which is BEKALOMBARDO. Becca is my nickname, so yeah, that's the best place to reach me. I'm on there a lot. I do a lot with social media, and right now we're trying to raise funds to get us to NYU in May. But I'm also I started a hashtag Keep Talking MH, Keep Talking Mental Health. So if you really want to make me very happy, you'll include that in any tweets you post to me.
You got it.
Great with that hashtag, so we're very excited about it.
Awesome. I love it, and you got it. So so yeah, thank you everybody. This has been Rebecca Lombardo. And Rebecca, on behalf of myself and everyone here and my cat who has been so patiently sleeping right next to me this entire time, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Yeah, and thank you for understanding about the camera thing. It doesn't quite work very well at this point, so I'll get that nailed down some point. But
everyone in the chat is thrilled that it gave me an excuse to test out my cat cam.
Yeah, I noticed some of the comments that Tiffany's very popular. So, and I hope her surgery goes well. I had a cat who had to have the same thing done, and he was a different cat afterwards. It was amazing. So,
wow.
I'm sure it will help greatly.
And my doctor has promised me that she'll be able to still eat dry food afterwards. Is that true?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't know, because this particular cat, his name was Fred, and he didn't really care for dry food as he got older.
Huh.
So we never really tested the theory. He still just mostly ate the wet stuff.
Okay, he did that all right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was totally fine with that, but I didn't test the dry food theory with him because he already didn't really much care for it. So.
Okay.
But yeah, he was nasty and mean and would attack you if he had the opportunity, you know, just if he was in the mood. And after he got his teeth out, he was so loving and so sweet. So it's a good thing to do.
Great. I'm looking forward to it. I am nervous, obviously, but I think it's going to be for the best. Awesome.
Make sure you post on Twitter how it goes, because
I will.
It sounds like there's a lot of people that love Tiffany.
I absolutely will. And I think she'll probably be perched up here in a drugged up haze on Sunday.
All right. Well, awesome. Thank you so much, Zach. And I will definitely be in touch with you about coming on our show, too.
Awesome. Well, until then, be well, and I'll see you on Twitter.
Okay, great. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Oh my God. So amazing. I had no idea what to expect, other than it would be an interesting conversation. And I'm just so moved by what she's up to and her experience, and just how open she was with us. And I like want to cry from what I've been seeing in the chat just now. I like cannot believe that I'm just honored to have y'all as part of my community. I'm honored to be part of your community. This is just an incredible, like, little corner of the internet. Oh man, there's like stuff I was going to talk about that just seems irrelevant right now. I don't know. I'll get to it eventually. There's always next week. So thank you. I see Rebecca in the chat. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. That is just awesome. I'm like seeing Rebecca, after you shared with us about the importance of having someone there for you, literally dozens of people started sharing their Twitter handles, Tumblr handles, so that people could be connected after the stream. So I'm just like blown away by all of you. I think the battery died on the Tiffy Cam. I think we found the upper limit of the how much time we have on that. I think oh boy, what Gina Root, am I okay? I am very much okay. I'm not sure why you're asking. I'm just moved by this whole thing. Mitsuki is dead. I'm so glad you made it. Oh, it's great to see you here. One sec. I'm just going to tweak the audio before I... Let's see if this works. I just want to see if I can get one thing, get my mic down. I think that is what I wanted to do. I think it might be too quiet now. 1 second. Hold, please. If I lower that, no. Boy. I'm not sure if this is gonna work. Hold, please. Ay, ay, ay. Ah, there we go. Lower that, and then put that up, and then hello. Is this working? Is this decent? I think that this is going to be a little bit better and easier to hear without so much background noise. Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to figure out the audio better one of these days. Yeah, I thank you, Gina Root, answering my question. You look very emotional and had things to say. Yeah, I didn't know what to expect when I started this show. And, at first it was just a breath of fresh air after doing weekly videos last year. Like, on the one hand, this is more relaxing for me and, like, less, it's not killing me. It was killing me to be, like, pulling all-nighters every week to get a video done at the quality that I wanted to do it with everything else going on in my life. So, on, like, the one level, this is sustainable. Like, I can actually do this every week in a way that I couldn't do what I was doing every week. And then, like, on another surprising note, I've found that I actually get energy out of this. I don't identify as either an introvert or an extrovert. I think I'm firmly in the middle vert. The middle vert? There's a thing. Ooh, I'm really quiet. Am I still really quiet? Oy. How about now? 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 I was trying to make it so you wouldn't hear the trucks, but I think that I just need to look at this later. I think that this is... Sorry, y'all. Bye, Rebecca. That's not English. Bye with an E. All right. What I was saying is basically I didn't know what to expect when I started doing these streams, other than it wasn't going to kill me the way that the videos I was doing were killing me, because it just took a lot of time and effort, and this is a lot easier. But then also, I get energy out of connecting with y'all and getting out of my tiny world and being on this slightly bigger world. Is it still quiet? I thought that it would be louder. The delay. Okay, that sounds good from Mitzrayim. Okay, great. Yeah. Long story short, I love doing this, and I love all of you. I've been doing... so yeah, this is something I want to talk about before I go. And I have 15 more minutes before I need to run. But yeah, I am 22 days into my experiment when I turned 27 last week. And maybe to give... So I started a daily podcast called Focused.af. One of the reasons I wanted to start that I was inspired off of this and just generally what I've been thinking, like when I tore apart the Uplift Tower version 1 to start thinking about rebuilding the new tower, what I was thinking about when I did that was I want it to be more accessible, but I also want to, like, sort of move my strategy with Project Uplift and my mental health advocacy into more content, because I think that content and creating videos and audio stuff is just something that I have the skill set for. in a way that, in a way that, I'm not a technologist. I like technology and I'm decent at it, but like my roommate is a god. Like he can code things up that I would take me years to learn how to do. So I want to keep building technology like the tower. And we're going to. We have some really cool experiments in the works. But I want to spend more of my time sharing and holding space for conversations about mental health and mindfulness and self-care and creativity, which I think is deeply connected with these things, and making art and getting into business. Like I think the Boss Gal series that I'd like to create, which is a series of interviews about extraordinary women innovating in different fields, sort of all about that intersection between, wanting to make a difference, needing to make a living, and, what you're good at. For me, it's communication, technology, and mindfulness, maybe. I don't know. This is what I'm sort of thinking about. So yeah, long story short, I've been working on this stream as part of that effort, as part of the larger umbrella of what I think Project Uplift could be. So taking it beyond the tower and into the cloud. And Focused.af, Focused.af, the podcast that I've been doing every day, which is sometimes not about mental health. Like last night's episode, I needed a break, so I just put up a beat that I made back in 9th grade, which is fun to share because I have all these like little things from throughout my life that I've never put online. But yeah, Focus.af has been an amazing experience. I have 7 more days. I think I've set only 7 more days, like a full week, before I've hit the 30 episodes that I was set to make. So yeah, I'm deciding whether I want to keep it up. Part of me really does. Part of me knows I could use that time for other things that would be valuable. And part of me wonders if there's a middle road where I can do both. So yeah, I think one thing that I've been thinking about is if I can hit 100 reviews before next Sunday, or 100 ratings rather, because I know reviews are harder, but it would be amazing to hit 100 reviews. Those are the written ones, but I don't think people will do that. But even just 100 ratings would tell me that it's something that there are enough folks engaged that it's worth trying at least for another month, as a daily thing. And I probably will keep it up. Yeah, I will probably keep it up. Whether it's daily or not, it might be a weekly thing, it might be a monthly thing, I haven't decided yet. But I think if I can hit 100, I'm ready to promise now that if I hit 100 ratings by next Sunday, I will stick with it for at least 1 more month as a daily thing. So yeah, there's that. And it's been fun because it gives me a platform that's so amazing. Emir G in the chat is shouting out one of my episodes, and this may be one of my favorite episodes of Focused as fuck. I did a guided meditation episode, which is something I really wanted to do, and she's been using it more than Headspace. If I'm getting your pronouns right, correct me if I'm not, please. But yeah, that was super cool. So yeah, I'm loving doing Focused.af. It's been amazing to have an opportunity every day to share something that I think matters. It's been awesome to push me creatively. Like other people are talking about the fake meditation tape that I put up with Emma Sherjarko, who plays the commander, Commander Minkowski in in Wolf 359, and it's hilarious, and I'm so proud of it. It's so funny. Where she's like trying to meditate and guide a meditation and just keeps getting interrupted by nonsense. Awesome. Emir G, thank you. And yeah, I love it. I'm at 22. The 22nd one went up this morning. I definitely have been struggling to find balance with sleep, and I found it, and then I've lost it, and then I found it, and then I lost it again. And so there's definitely a cycle to it. And I think if I'm going to do it every day for like more than 3 months, I'm going to have to make it a little bit more structured, like a little bit, and probably have some bits that I can sprinkle in when I don't have time, like Bot or Not is a segment where I get a piece of poetry from a website that's either generated by a bot or a human, like an actual poem. And like, it was fun doing that episode. People had to guess on my Twitter in a poll whether or not it was a bot or not. So like, I'd probably have like 100 of those recorded in a weekend that I could put 1 or 2 in any given day that I don't have time to do a fuller episode. And probably I'd want to connect with other artists to feature their work, like maybe poetry or prose from people who listen or other artists, maybe some more interviews. I could easily see myself doing like a private live stream for maybe it's a Wolf 359 perk. I don't know. I'm thinking about Patreon. And I've talked about how I would love for my stream and my podcast to support me financially through something like Patreon. But I feel weird about creating a Patreon while Wolf 359 is on the air and has one as well, because I think there's so much overlap in the audience that I feel uncomfortable asking people for twice the money. So yeah, that's where I'm at. So yeah, what did I want to say? I really like it. I'm not sure if I do want to keep it up, but I think there are other things I could spend my time doing. So if I hit 100 reviews, that'll kind of tell me that that's like, sorry, ratings. I keep mixing it up. Hey, if I get 100 ratings, I'll do it for 1 month. If I get 100 reviews, like written out reviews, hell, I can promise I'll do it for 3 months. If that happens in the next 7 days, there's only 20 of them, and there are 30 ratings. Sorry, ratings, yeah. 5 stars for ratings, written for reviews. Anyway, that's quite enough about that. I'm going to do a new thing where I share what I've been listening to and what I've been watching before I go. So I talked a little bit last week about in Focused.af, a show that I watched on Netflix called 13 Reasons Why, which was based off of another a book, and I'll share that with you right now. And it's gotten a lot of controversy online, I think rightly so, because it is problematic. It's basically the story of a high school girl who commits suicide and leaves 13 tapes behind for people to understand why she did it. And I think it is, in many ways, an irresponsible narrative, as much as it is a deeply moving and compelling narrative, or it was for me. They adapted this book into a series on Netflix, which I watched. And I can't recommend it to people who would be potentially triggered by the imagery or want to copycat some of the content, because there are very graphic depictions of suicide and sexual assault and a lot of touchy things. There's a lot of controversy about the show. The chat's catching up. The reason that I bring it up is, if I'm not recommending you check out the show, but the lead actor in it, who I only found out about because of that series, is they have a new single. He's in a band called Pleasers, and it's an incredible song. I don't want to play any more of it for copyright violation reasons, but go check it. Oh, this is illegal. You shouldn't go to this one on YouTube. Yikes. But he's on SoundCloud. It's on Ooh, super loud. Sorry, guys. But yeah, this is super, super cool. I've been playing it like on repeat. It's a great song. It's going to be my summer anthem. So yeah, definitely check that out. And yeah, just about the controversy and about the TV series, my perspective is I think that it's something, yeah, we talked about it on Twitter, Alexi Winter, and I'm like, it is not the best to watch for most people, or for anyone that deals with these issues. I think that it has the potential. My hope is that it will do more harm than good. My fear is that my hope is that it won't. It'll do more good than harm. Yikes. Whew, that's what happens when you do things live. My hope is that it makes a difference and doesn't hurt people. And I think it has the possibility to do that, probably more about sexual assault prevention than suicide prevention. It left me with the feeling that I need to check in with the people in my life more. That's what I took away from it. And to not let "how are you" be enough, and to really ask "how are you really?" and really check in with people. And if I see signs of like disengagement, to really check in. And they do a great job on the show of representing LGBTQ identities in high school. So I give it that credit. But unproblematic fave is Pleaser song. So check that out. I don't know where my camera is. Yeah, anyway, check it out. Great song. And if you're looking for something to watch, I just started on Netflix. Oh no. I just got everything reinstalled on my computer and I don't remember my login. No. Dear White People. I loved the movie. And now they have a TV series on Netflix and it is delightful. Visually, it's insanely compelling. Narratively, I think it's just an incredibly constructed piece of entertainment, and I think it contains a really important message. So that is what I wanted to share with you on my what I'm watching and what I'm listening segment. Yeah, so that's that. What else? Well, I'm going to come back out. So yeah, that's the end of this week's Self-Care Sunday. When you're not watching it live over here, this is hard. Over here is where I'm going to put, you can subscribe to my channel and click that right there. And then down here, I'm going to put a link to Rebecca Lombardo's website. So you can just click that and go right there. And then somewhere maybe down here, like in this area of the screen, I'm going to have a link to a playlist of videos about mental health that I created with one of my best friends. Man, sorry, just had a super brain fart. Lauren Shippen and I have the series of Sanity, Sanity something or other, right down here. This is what happens when you do it live, guys. I'm a little dehydrated, so I'm going to get a glass for the water that I made for myself and didn't have to drink this whole time. Things you learn by doing. And yeah, thanks for watching. Oh boy. Where's the button?